Hey everyone. Hi, welcome. My name is Isabella. I'm here with Mark. And we're having the session to go over a little bit about Unified Namespace and MQTT in FrameworX version 10. Mark is our founder and CTO, and he's going to be giving the presentation today. Mark, would you say hi to everyone? I'll give everyone a second to kind of just get in. Feel free to leave any comments that you guys have on chat. I'll keep an eye out to if you guys have any questions or things like that.
Thank you. This presentation will be recorded and published also in YouTube. So instead of waiting for more people to join, start right away and you'll be able to review the link later. What we're going to do today, I'm going to review some basic concepts about Unified Namespace and MQTT, about the framework solution design process. Then we're going to show how in a couple of minutes, very, very easily, we can create local UNS and also access remote Unified Namespace with frameworks. And your solutions, most cases, will be that combination of your local data and access and exchange with remote data. And those settings, they take just a couple of minutes in the platform. And we'll wrap up doing some review of some of those additional key features and reply any questions you may have. So let's go. I'll not go into too much detail about what is a Unified Namespace. For that, you should reference the Walker Reynolds videos. She was the one that came up with that expression. But one thing for statements he typically used to define what is the Unified Namespace is your single source of truth that holds all the structure and events of your entire business. So it can act as a data hub. So all the applications, instead of the traditional layered stack, they go to that centralized data. And it's a very important foundation to your digital transformation. Another way to view that, when you're going to create your solutions, it's a very practical way to view, is just to think about Unified Namespace as the digital representation of the real-time operations. And the words here, real-time operations, are the key words here, because everything we are going to do in the concept of business information, we need to put that in context. And the context is regarding real-time operations of the production facilities. So essentially, in that unified data model, you can combine data from controllers, from historians, and provides a way to organize that. And when you do those projects, it's important to have the concept of local Unified Namespace, meaning you have the formal definition from Walker that Unified Namespace is your entire organization, but in real life, when you start to deploy those solutions, we are going to have one or more local Unified Namespaces connect with one specific automation island or one site, or even a solution on the edge that may or may be not connecting with an enterprise Unified Namespace, depending on what part of your digital roadmap your company is. But at minimum, this is something that we're going to have. And when you organize that data, you include not only the data itself, the sense information, but also some calculated data to help creating dashboards and also descriptions and definitions of the data. So when you are creating a new solution, you have all the information you need on the namespace to add additional value. two basic technologies you can use to do the UNS implementation is the MQTT protocol and FrameworX. Again, this presentation, I'm assuming you are familiar with MQTT. If you are not, just keep in mind MQTT is a light publish subscribe protocol, and it's very suitable for that kind of application because it's allow very easily to many dynamic devices to connect with that data, allow subscription model. You have many tools that support that technology. And because it's a very light protocol, it's perfect for those industrial applications to centralize the data from those devices. But that's the protocol, that's the communication stack. How will you build your entire application? That's where frameworks come into place. We'll go in that detail later, but essentially, frameworks is just open and complete platform to create those industrial automation solutions, doing anything you can manage around real-time data. Essentially, the four basic steps when you define your solution: you define your data, or in that case, it's one-to-one relationship with the Unified Namespace, and we have tools to simplify that organization of your data. You set up some key industrial process like communication with field devices, alarm events. You create your application around that using your custom codes, reports, user interfaces. And of course, frameworks has all the tools to manage that application with specific solutions to factory accept tests, to deploy in the fields, to manage security and track changes. So those are the 4 steps. Going a little bit more of detail on that, the typical workflow is, again, repeating what I said, you connect and collect, so you put your data model live, then you process or use that information somehow, and we have also all the visualization tools for that. How we organize that configuration? We organize in 4 main blocks here. We have what you call the Unified Namespace. In the context of frameworks, you can think that about your local Unified Namespace, where you have the tags, the asset tree, those data types for the specific process you are doing the automation. And then we have the additional functional modules that will be work around that data, and eventually you have also a user interface consuming that data. And going in further detail, that's what you can accomplish in each one of those steps in that configuration. For today's presentation, we are going to focus only in those pieces. So what we're going to do is to show how you can define the Unified Namespace, define your tags, connect with remote systems, and talk a little bit about getting additional devices to populate that data model. We will not touch at all those other features, but keep in mind they are there, okay? Good, so let's go to make things happen. So let's start creating a local Unified Namespace. And before we jump to the product, any comments, Isabella?
No, just if you guys do have follow-up questions, like the other parts of the platform we're not going to touch here, feel free to email me. I'll throw in my email here on chat, and we can definitely do follow-up sessions like this one. So go ahead.
Yes, and probably it's a good idea to publish the links to our training websites also in the comments area. Anyway, so let's do that, okay? For you that are familiar with the platform, I'm just going to do those 8 steps, okay? It's very basic, simple steps to do. For you that are familiar with platform, that's the solution manager that allows you to see all the projects, all the solutions you have in your local or remote computers. So you can add or run those project examples. In this case, I'm going to create a new one. We have many product families to the entire communication stack. And we also can decide in Windows or multi-platform. So this solution that I just created, I'm creating start from scratch. So I did not pick up any template with displays or additional built-in components, what I could do, because I want to show the entire process from the very beginning. This interface we call the designer is where I'm going to do those execution steps, okay? And you can even filter those tools by those steps. So here we have the unified namespace, the modules. For now, just keep the full functionality so we start get used to the big picture. But we'll focus mainly on the unified namespace and devices, as I previously explained it. When you define your unified namespace, a key concept, traditional SCADA HMI, is the concept of tags that you can create that table. And the asset tree, you can organize that in a hierarchical model when you define the unified namespace. I could do that manually, just creating either in this view or this view. In this case, to save some time, I will just pick up my data model from this Excel table. So I'm going just to copy that and go back to my configuration tool, put here on the session line and insert rows. So essentially, I'm bringing that definition to my system. And we always allow you to see the information in both ways. You can see as a table. So you have the location of the asset or of the tag and some additional properties that element may have. Or you can also view here on the asset tree. So everything you do in one environment is also immediately available in the other environments. So the asset tree and the table, there are two views of the same information. And I'll not really go much on detail on how to modify that, but it's important to know that any modification you do here will reflect here and vice versa. So if I want to select many rows and add those combined rows or do any modification, it will be reflecting in both views that are connected. So now we did those 3 steps. So I create tags, I create my asset folders. Now I need to make that data visible and populate that data. So we are going to do the runtime. So I'm going live with that data. And it's really very easy to allow the other FrameworX modules and third-party applications to access that data. For the FrameworX modules, you don't need to do anything because they will have native access to that data. To external applications, you can enable the OPC server. So our runtime becomes also an OPC UA server for third-party applications. Or you can publish the data for the built-in MQTT broker. We talk about third-party brokers later, but let's start simple. Just using this one checkbox to publish that data to the built-in broker. And that's it. So let's put this application to run and see what I was able to do with 2 operations, pretty much a copy and paste from my specification and a checkbox to make it visible to a broker. Well, in this case, I did not create any displays yet, so let me close this window. And what we could do, we could pick up any MQTT client application to see the data that are publishing. In this case, instead of a third-party tool, we use our own built-in tools. We have on the Data Explorer features to browse MQTT, OPC, PLC, custom protocols, SQL queries. In that case, MQTT Explorer. So I'm connecting with my local built-in broker. The same way I'm going to connect to my built-in broker, keep in mind I could connect with a remote broker. So all the explanation I'm giving with our local native built-in broker also is applicable if you are using other brokers, okay? I'm just using that because it's much easier. And in fact, it's one of the benefits of the platform because we have all those tools built in. So this is the data that the system is being published. So we are using to publish the data, the Spark plug B specification, and the broker can have data from many solutions. You can have many solutions running at the same time. And on my tag information, I have here the data from my machines, which now it's not very interesting because there is no one really change that value. So if you want to see something change in your client's application, you can, for instance, look on the 7 namespace that has native information about the server computer. And this client application is by default monitoring the data every 1 second. That's why it's updated every 1 second. But the performance of MQTT can go way beyond that as well from FrameworX. So here I have monitoring my application. And again, keep in mind, what are using this MQTT Data Explorer, you could do with any other MQTT client application. We are only leverage our built-in tools. Instead of using external built-in broker, we are using the native one. And instead of using external clients to monitor the data broker, we are using our own built-in client to do the monitoring. So this is our namespace published to the broker. From here, you can publish to another broker, or if you have an enterprise broker, the enterprise broker can subscribe the data from our embedded broker. Many options to move forwards, okay? In this case, I'm going to disconnect that and do some additional explanations. So far, we did, in those couple of minutes, all those 4 steps. We create some local data model, we put that to run, put that available to a broker, monitor with debugging tools. Let's go to some more advanced features, how I can engage additional protocols and more advanced data structures like user data types or JSON payloads, okay? We have a built-in module we've called devices that has more than 70 built-in protocols included in the platform. And if you want to add any of those protocols to your system, you create what you call a channel. A channel, it's pretty much a definition that, yes, I want to use this protocol in this solution. And in some cases, you have some additional setup. For instance, if it's Modbus, you need to decide if it's Modbus TCP/IP or Modbus serial. Anyway, with that, you create what you call in your platform a channel. That's a definition of one protocol the application is using. Most protocols, they allow to have many nodes. So the concept of nodes, let's give a more simple name here. I call that node 1. This node 1 is the Modbus protocol at this address. In this case, I'll pick up this to be my local computer because I can run a Modbus simulator instead of trying to connect with a device that you guys not being able to see. I'm connecting with this Modbus simulator, so I can put some values here, and I can double check if I have the connection with this station. Yes, great, I have. And I can decide which registers I'm going to read from that device. I'm using Modbus, but the concepts apply to any of those protocols. Again, instead of typing my data, I just want to go to my Unified Namespace. I'll pick up any of that data and map that to my device point. So I'm going to paste that here. So those two variables in my data model, they'll be connected with those two Modbus registers. And I can even test that connection again to see, okay, this register is with value 22. We are good to go. And that's really all you need to do. So if I go back, I'll do one more thing before I keep moving. I will create a data template. To create a data template or use a data type, you can go here, create a new template and define what is your data structure. Or if you have that data structure in some of those data sources, in that case, I will put our simulation tool to run. This built-in simulation tool, you can define many types of data models. So in this simulation tool, we have here some data on the simulator for to be a solar panel. So instead of creating my user data typing or from Excel, I'm creating from this system. So I'm going here, ask the system to create this data model with the solar panel. That would be the name of my data model. And asking also to map this to a new variable in my application. So when I did that process, I added to my devices, I added one more channel with the MQTT Spark Plug B protocol mapping to the address of that broker. Again, I'm using the built-in broker, but could be another broker, another computer. And in my device points, we have now one additional tag, panel 1, mapping to this Spark Plug B topic. And what's nice in Spark Plug B, I don't need to define all the props of the solar panel, only the top topic, because the structure of the solar panel is known by the system. And in my text, in my asset model, I have those two sites. And you see my panel 1, that was the new element I added, is in the root tags because it's not on map-to specific sites. I can run the application this way. So panel 1 will be not in this tree, or I can drag drop from here, or I can go also from this table and go to my panel 1 and assign this solar panel. Let's say the solar panel is what's powering my area 1. So these assets now, if I go back to my asset tree, is under area 1. I have my 2 previous machines, but I have also the data from panel 1. And it's very common, especially in greenfield, to do what I'm doing now, offline configuration. If you have the data, you can do the application, browse the data, and use the wizards to create the text from the data. But in many cases, you are going to do what I was doing here, that I was doing the configuration offline. So even I don't have a module bus device, the broker, I could do those steps, okay? So to conclude this first step of create the local, I put the solution to run again, okay? When you are doing a solution, we have that concept of the configuration tool and the execution environments. If the application is running, the system can be by default live. So when the system is running, by default, you see we have now this new message, online configuration. So if you have your application enabled to use the online configuration, now you can keep doing modification the solutions, and they will reflect right away on the running environments. So I'm going back to my MQTT Tools to see how a client would see that data. So you see now on my broker, I have the data that our solution one is publishing. And in my site one, area one, we also add the data for panel one. And we also have the original data that the previous broker is publishing. The same concept of the device apply to all mods. You can use script to read and write data and publish back on that data model. And again, this data explorer tool, I'm just using our own tools to make the life simple, but the data explorer acts as if it was a remote system. How can external applications access that data? As I did mention before, all the FrameworX built-in modules can access that data right away, but external application access that through the MQTT broker, through the OPC server, or through HTTP RESTful APIs and .NET APIs. So when developing application around this unified namespace, either are going to use the built-in modules from FrameworX itself, or that's our documentation website. You can use any of those extensions APIs, which allow external applications to use that data, or the standard MQTT and OPC way server protocols that are also available. So, okay, we did show briefly how to create a data template tag. So what about JSON? It's very common in MQTT application that the payloads that I'm receiving, let's go back to my monitor window here. It's not only one variable, but is a string with a JSON payloads, okay? We support many features in the products to help you on that. And the report, for instance, we have the ability to edit JSON data. So you want to format your JSON data. We have this built-in editor for JSON. But going back to Unified Namespace, when you define new tags in the application, either here or here, one of the type of tags you allow is a JSON tag. A JSON tag can map directly with a JSON string payloads on the MQTT communication. And the JSON tag has built-in properties called JObject and JArray to very easily pack and unpack that information to tags in your application and to use that data in your application. For time limitations, I'll not develop that example now, but if you want to explore that, in our documentation site, you have the solution examples. Under tag examples, we have the demo about JSON tags and MQTT, showing how you can have that JSON payloads very easily mapping a tag in your application to that payload. By the way, it's not the scope of today's presentation, but one of the key benefits of the implementation of Unified Namespace in FrameworX is the advanced data types we have. Not only we have the JSON tag, but we have date times, we have even data tables. So we can have one tag that will hold the entire result of our query. And we have also very easy methods in your built-in APIs and scripting to convert data in between data table to JSON arrays. The arrays can be three-dimensional, so you can have a very powerful model because not only you can do a typical asset tree as in many other systems, but the type of the data that you are exposing here is also very advanced. So I will go to the next demo, and I'll open for questions and comments from you, Isabella, before I keep moving.
No, I just think it's good for people to know that some of the things you showed around JSON, especially the web data, that's all new in version 10. So this is something we've concerned ourselves with in the past, which is bringing in new technologies that will work not just now, but in the future. We call them future-proof technologies. So JSON is just one example, but like you said, I feel like there are other places. And Mark Donovan did mention that how much he likes the test button in the node configuration. So
yes, it's really very useful. And by the way, that applies to any protocol, not only module buttons. Okay. Perfect. Let's go now to another use case. I'm not defining a local UNS in FrameworX. I need to connect with an existing unified namespace. So I have a broker or sitting out there. I want to connect with that model and start using that. Okay. How we do that use case? Let's create a new solution. A little trick, you can see the icons to make sure I stopped everything else. Anyway, I'm creating this new solution from scratch and keep the G4 name, solution 2 is good. But now I'm not using our own tools to create the data model. That data is sitting there in some place, okay? So what I'm going to do, I will start through the Data Explorer, because in this case, I'm showing the data sitting on MQTT. But if you have your data in OPC servers or on control logics or code sys, PLCs, or inside SQL databases, the procedure I'm describing now applies in a very similar way to MQTT.
do you want to just go window zoom in, just so my video is nicer?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So MQTT, OPC, PLC, and SQL are historian tools, other typical data sources that we can use to grab the asset model. To get the asset model, we are going to use a new concept for Unified Namespace called tag provider. A tag provider allows you to connect with many systems that are capable of holding that asset model. In this case, I'm going to use MQTT to my data repository, but as I did explain, you can have like a Canary Labs. They have not only the historian, but some asset modeling capabilities. So I can connect to the Canary Lab, OPC way, another framework server, InfluxDB, many options here. And of course, your application can combine data from many of those unified namespaces, okay? In this case, I'll focus today in MQTT. So again, just to speed up our development process, I'm going to use our built-in broker. But by the way, the typical workflow and create a solution. Even when to deploy in the HiveMQ, for instance, there is no reason why you cannot start developing our built-in broker and then move to another broker for production, okay? Small systems, you can even use our embedded broker for production. Large-scale systems, for the security and the management tools, you probably want to go to one of the many available brokers out there. Anyway, in this case, I'm connecting with an existing solution. So I'm putting a simulator to run. So in this case, I'm assuming I have read this broker with this data there, or whatever data I want to connect. But in this case, I don't want to create tags and use devices. That's a traditional SCADA mapping. In this case, what I'm going to do in my mapping is to create what you call the tag provider connection. When you create a tag provider connection, you are doing nothing on devices. You see my channels, just to show we don't have anything defined here. They are empty. When you use the tag provider connections, you allow to put your asset model direct to that data without having to create tags. It's a dynamic connection to external data sources. So I'm going to define in my model here a folder called solar panels. And inside solar panels, I'm going to link data from those external tag providers, either through here or this icon here. But essentially, what I'm going to do, you see the system is showing here, without having to do any configuration, all the information from that broker. In that case, I'll pick up this group ID one, and I'll give also probably a more meaningful name. Instead of keeping the name group ID, I'll call that cities. So what we're doing in FrameworX, I'm creating a virtualized model of my external data. So I create a folder called solar panel cities, but the contents of solar panel cities is in fact my MQTT1 connection starting from Sparkplug B group ID1. So that's the path on the remote system that I'm bringing into my model. And of course, you can have many folders pointing to different locations from this broker or other brokers or any of those protocols we allow for tag providers. When you create that tree, you see I have now in my application the live data without having to create any tags, okay? So what we did now is those first 6 steps. It's not very funny because when you see this table, it looks like at least a 10-minute text, not 10 seconds, but it's really what takes 10 seconds. So let's use some data, because just showing the value changes in this tool is not really nice enough, okay? I can open the object browser to have another view of the data, but let's go and show how you can use that data in display in other modules, okay? Just, I know it's not the official scope of today's presentation, but to have an idea on how you can use that data. So in our drawing tool, I am going to pick up this assets tree objects, and that you expose to the operator displays the asset tree, and I pick up also a data grids. to show the detailed information of the selected assets. So in these data grids, we have a built-in property in our system called contexts, client context. You see we have IntelliSense, so you can very easily go through all those properties. But we have the context property assets name that is the default selected assets in this specific client display. So that's it. I'm going to save this page and let's run, because again, I was doing offline configuration. So in this case, I'm not going to run any of those modules to make clear that we are not really doing any simulation inside our system. Run only the unified namespace itself and the displays. And of course, that communication with those external data sources bidirectional. You can have text input, you can have scripts, you can historize the data, you can run external data analytics using AI tools, you can leverage the other modules to do something more meaningful in the application. Right now, what I'm doing is just showing here my namespaces and the information on what have in the namespace. And I just want to do one more thing. I modified this window so it will be a little smaller, so I can put it here. And I'll go back to my drawing tool, make that also a little bit smaller so I can have side-by-sides. And many users, they don't have many other products, they don't have that concept of offline and online configuration. So some users, they get confused about that. But just keep in mind that's a feature, not a limitation, because if you want to do online configuration, you can go back to your environments, you can modify the display, and it's right there on the display. So you can modify IO mapping, you can modify scripts, you can do things while the process is running. Some scenarios, that's a great feature. Some scenarios like FPGA or critical assets, you don't want to do online change on the process. But when you are developing the application, typically you want to do that, okay? And I'm not going into details now, but we have features like execution profile and many other features to speed up that development. And that's it. Yeah, a little frustrating because it's so simple. In real life scenarios, you can make that more interesting, because additionally to have your data that's dynamically populated from external data sources, you can have, of course, your additional data that you are defining in the system itself. So your application can be a combination of data that you are defining, connecting from the remote system with local tags or data templates that you are defined in FrameworX itself. So your solution may be a combination of both ways when doing that. Can be a combination of data which is locally defined in the system and data that is dynamically read from external data sources. So the physical view on what is the unified namespace, here's your unified namespace with the local data and the dynamic data. And all the other modules, storing, scripts, displays, or external applications can work around that data. Perfect. Any questions so far, Isabella?
I think not, but just I feel like flexibility is one of the key concepts that we always talk about. So whether you're going to use, like Mark showed, devices or our tag providers, that's going to depend really on your application, how dynamic your data is. It really depends. So that is our goal, really, to give you options to, instead of working against your data and trying to make it fit our application, we work with what you have to really make development easier and your applications more efficient.
And there is a key point on that specification: who is going to define that data?
Yeah.
Because that definition of the tag should reside in some place. So someone decide to call that property panel voltage, someone decide to call that area 1 or tag 1. So some platform needs to make that definition for the data. And what's nice with FrameworX, we have very complete and powerful tools to be the application that's define that data. So we can publish that data to a broker. You don't need to do Python or C# scripting to create that initial data model. You can create the data model in our tool, but you can at the same time consuming the definition from other platforms in a very easy way. So to wrap up, the key concepts to keep in mind, that flexibility, because we're creating top of .NET. So I'm not going that detail, but everything we do with the built-in modules, your applications can access those built-in modules, or as needed, go all the way down to .NET, because it's really in top depths. And some features I'm going to put out that I believe that are really unique, that really it's key points in any platform. First of all, our modules are included. You don't need to worry about additional modules. So you don't need to buy a SQL database connection or whatever. Everything you need is always available. And you can deploy the application, Unix, Linux, Cisco routers, very interesting. We have some large applications around that. Your displays can run in Windows, as I was showing, but also on web. And when we run application web, I dare to say we are the #1 in the market regarding the performance of those displays. And the web pages, they are the same drawing tool of the Windows, very easy to deploy the page on web. I did show briefly the JSON editor. By the way, I didn't believe I did show the editor. I didn't mention we had. So let's do that. So if you're creating code or data models or SQL queries, we have lots of built-in editors. So here, let me put an example here. That's how I'm defining some JSON packets, and can very easily embed the tags in that packet. It's out of scope, but a key component in most applications with Unified Namespace are storing tools. And we do have a built-in storing tool, works in top of SQL databases, and very easy integration with many storing products. We have all the configuration tools available at no charge. So when using this environment here to lay out your solution, you have access that right away, okay? Just download from your soft and you are going. And some limited 2 hours used to test the solution. You only need to talk about license when you put that in production. I will not go in details, but we have very advanced deployment tools. Just one example, this production environment, this concept of execution profiles that allows automatic remapping of the connections according to the environment. It's really very, very important when doing projects around critical infrastructure. And last not least, it's our system's complete greenfields, 100% .NET code. It allows to be secure by design, so no blue screens, no exceptions, no problems when you update Windows operating system, because you're running the top of .NET layer, makes that very responsible and flexible. And let's questions if you have any or continue our conversation from websites.
Yeah, I just like to thank Goran, who just suggested this topic. Let us know if you feel like
yes, thank you very much. So we will end the recording for the publish on YouTube video. Thank you very much, you all.
No, just wait a second. Just let me.
I'll be here for the questions.
Oh yeah, I just want to if Goran has any if that went over his questions, if you'd like to look more, let us know here on chat or do email me later. We can continue the conversation. Like I told you, if you want to discuss a specific application you have, we can also absolutely do that in a different point. I'd like to thank everyone for doing this today, and I will be making this available on YouTube, like Mark mentioned. And so any lasting thoughts? Like
a little final thoughts. Those are some questions this session is supposed to allow you to reply, to know the answer. How to identify names possible, how include different type of namespaces, how we inspect the data, how to connect with external brokers or additional devices. So if you still have questions around those topics, feel free to follow up with us. That's exactly.
It. And like Mark said, with version 10, our engineering environments, the configurations tools, they come at absolutely no cost. So you can really download and start prototyping right now. I'm putting here on chat, on the banner. You can learn more and download FrameworX version 10. At our website, if you want to go specific to a version 10 page, that is statsoft.com/v10. And you guys can start exploring, and it will. Once you download, you get a link to a lot of our resources. So the docs.tatsoft and our training.tatsoft that kind of help you across your journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just one real second. Download page is not available, Raphael. Let me check. Did something went wrong? I will check with you.
Okay, I'll allow you to check that. And thank you, everyone.
No, just one second. Oh, one of the best webinars. Just want to thank John for that. Mark, Jonathan as well. Thank you, everyone. Raphael, let me check with you right now. I have it out here as well. I'll throw it on chat. If you have any issues with it, because it seems to be okay on my end, the direct downloads link. You can also email me and we can follow up.
Yeah, and I will do one final comment. Isabella, thanks to that. Okay. We have 2 emails that you can access. Okay. Which are those 2? Sales@tatsoft.com for question about download, license in general, and support@tatsoft.com for specific technical questions.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk soon. Have a good day. And this room.